Hello, 8th graders. This is Mrs. Abriani here to explain the English 8A Unit 4 activity called Literary Analysis Slideshow. There are two tiles for this assignment. One is called Literary Analysis Instructions. The other is just called Unit 4 Literary Analysis Activity. I'm going to explain the instructions to you now. Step 1 is to choose a story. You have four stories to choose from. One is kind of spooky, Edgar Allan Poe's Telltale Heart. One is about a girl, Rules of the Game, about a girl learning to play chess and her family puts a lot of pressure on her. It's mostly about her relationship with her mother. Frederigo's Falcon is about a family that has a falcon that they train to do things and what happens when they lose their falcon. Stephen Crane's An Episode of War is about soldiers in the battlefield. So kind of decide which one is interesting to you, but also read the first paragraph of each one because the language is very different for each one. Some are written in the past and you may not really like the way they're written or be able to understand it very clearly. Pick the story that you understand clearly because you will be writing about it. Step 2, here's what you'll be writing. You'll be writing about 3 of these elements as they pertain to the story you chose. 3 out of these ones here. So let me explain each one really quickly in case you don't remember what they mean. You're only going to choose 3 of them. One of them is the setting. That's the when and the where. When did the story take place? The year, the season, the time of day, maybe if it's a short story. The where is an important part. What country, what planet, and where on that planet. Was it in the woods, in the city? The when and the where is the setting. You could choose to write about that. Plot. Plot is just how the story unfolds. Usually you have a beginning where things are kind of mellow. You have the middle, rising action to the big climax, the big action. Then the action dies down a little and there's a resolution at the end. What plot line is followed in your story? The characters. You could reflect a little bit on the characters. Describe who they are, what they do, if they're complex or if they're kind of not very interesting characters. Little Red Riding Hood, there's only 3 characters, well 4, including the wolf. So that's a very small amount of characters. Maybe your story has a lot of characters or just 2. Something you could analyze are the characters. Point of view is very interesting. Have you ever heard of the 3 Little Pigs? Probably. 3 little pigs are brothers. Their houses get torn down by the big bad wolf. There's an alternative version of that story written from the point of view of the wolf called The True Story of the 3 Little Pigs. That's where the wolf says, no. I didn't mean to knock down their houses. They're lying about me. I'm a good guy. So it's written from the point of view of the wolf. So the wolf is not going to say he was a bad guy. He portrays himself as innocent. So it's a fun, different version of the story we know so well. It's a good example of how the point of view really changes the story. Sometimes there's no characters talking. It's the narrator that's describing everything that's going on. And the narrator sees all the characters and all their actions and is just describing it. What's the point of view of the story you chose? That's something you could choose to write about. The dialogue is when the characters are talking to each other or talking out loud. You always see it in quotation marks, like here. In some stories, like the Telltale Heart, the character might talk to himself. So that's an interesting thing you could analyze in your story. It's the dialogue. The structure of the story. Every story follows a different structure. Some follow that kind of up and down pattern where there's a height of action in the middle. Others follow a circular action, like Lord of the Rings. Frodo starts off in the Shire. He goes through this big journey. All these things happen. He turns into kind of a different person, but he ends up back at the Shire, right, where he started. That's a circular story pattern. Others jump around in time. They end up looking like this, and they're all over the place. And others just kind of don't follow any of these patterns. Maybe they just end. They don't have much of an ending or a resolution. Maybe the bad guys even kind of win in the end. What's the structure of your story? You could choose to write about the structure. Word choice is very interesting. Authors spend a lot of time picking certain words to portray certain feelings about their story. So look at the words your author chose to write your story. For example, an author might say, his eyes were steely blue. And here's an example of someone with steely blue eyes. Steel is a metal, right? Metal is often cold. So if you're saying that a character has steely blue eyes, it could mean that the character is cold or the character is unfriendly. A lot of time when we say someone's cold, it means they don't have feelings, right? So steely blue eyes, that's a word choice to convey a certain feeling about the character. I think this guy's a villain from one of those superhero movies. Theme, I think you probably have analyzed in the past in other classes. It's the main message or lesson that the author wants you to take away from the story. Is the story about the main character's courage? Is it about honesty or friendship or forgiveness? Or is it about going crazy, like the Telltale Heart, or guilt? What is the theme of your story? You could analyze that. Step 3 is the rough draft, okay? After you have analyzed your 3 things, you are going to fill out the blanks in the instructions and submit that document, the literary analysis instructions document, to this tile in your class. And you're going to wait for it to be graded before moving on to part 4, okay? So the 3 things that you analyzed about your story, there's questions. You're going to fill that out in this literary analysis instructions document you downloaded, and then you're going to upload it to this tile. Once it's graded, you're going to access the next tile, which is the PowerPoint slideshow, and you're going to put all your ideas from the literary analysis activity into the slideshow, and that slideshow is going to look like this. You're going to replace this writing with your own words, okay? So this is the title page, and you can see here there's other slides that you're going to fill in your information. Like this could be the one where you analyze the setting. This could be the one where you analyze the plot. This could be the one where you talk about the characters, and so on. It tells you what to put on each slide. You're going to replace the words there with your words about your story. You upload it to that tile, and you're all done. Please contact me if you have any more questions. I'd be happy to help. Have fun.